welcome to my channel. I'm Cath and my channel is made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me today. Whether you're an existing subscriber or whether you're new, I'm really glad to have you here to share my love of sewing with a little bit of knitting sprinkled in too. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my September makes and I'm really looking forward to talking about them. But before I get started on talking about what I've been up to, I thought I'd share with you what I'm wearing today. And that's this dress here. It's the Megan Nielsen Darling Ranges dress. So the weather today here is a bit overcast, not too cold, but I think the Darling Ranges dress is just perfect for that weather that isn't too hot, but it's not got really wintry yet. And I'll show you the pattern. So it describes itself as a modern shirt dress with buttons down the front, and it's got above the elbow elasticated cuffs, which I think are quite sweet. It's got pockets, and then it's got an optional waist tie, which I've added on, so I'll show you the back. And I made this version in just a plain blue chambray. It's quite lightweight and quite soft. And I made it with white buttons because I kind of wanted it to be quite similar to the version on the cover because I just think that's quite classic and quite cool. And I really love wearing it. It's really comfy because the chambray is soft. And it's a perfect dress for kind of hanging around the house, which is what I'm doing today. I'll pop a picture up of me wearing the dress so you can see the full dress. And it is a really lovely pattern. Although actually it is one I had to make a few adjustments to, more than usual, to get the fit right for me. I actually made a toile of this one, which I don't usually do, and I had to make a broad shoulder adjustment, again, which I don't usually need to do because it was sort of gaping here and pulling across here. So it was worth spending the time on the toile for this one because I've got the fit just right now, I think, and I'm really happy with both my versions, and I think I get a lot of wear out of both of them and I always feel very comfy when I'm wearing them. So that's what I'm wearing today, but let's move on to what I've been making in September. So I thought I'd start with another Megan Nielsen pattern that I made, and it's this pattern here. It's the Sudley dress and blouse. I've made two versions of the blouse, and I'm just going to show you my second one today, which I made this month. Actually, I started it quite a while ago. I think I might have even started it, it was really hot when I started it, so sometime in the summer. But then I kind of stalled because I wasn't sure how to finish it, and I left it for a while. And then I finally came back to finishing it and got a bit more decisive this month, and I'm really happy to have it done. So I'll show you a picture of me wearing it, and I chose to make the blouse version. So the different versions on here, oh, there we are. Basically, it's kind of like a slightly oversized blousey effect top, and you can add a gathered waist skirt too. But the detail I really like is that it has a little tie at the front with a keyhole collar. I think it's a really nice little feature that can make a blouse a little bit special. So you may have seen this fabric. I think I showed it in one of my quite early vlogs, in one of my early fabric hauls. But it's really fantastic kitten print fabric. And it came from Ditto Fabrics, which is a shop I hadn't used before. And I got this, actually, funnily enough, this chambray came from there. I made an order of this kitten fabric and this chambray. And this is a Italian viscose. So it feels a bit different to a normal viscose. It's got a different sort of sheen to it. But actually, and I was really nervous about working with it because it does seem very slippery and I thought it might be tricky. But actually it behaved better than I expected, and also I was really pleased it didn't pull at all because I thought if it did pull it might be really obvious in this dark black colour. So yeah, as I said, I'd post a photo of me wearing it, but I decided to make the version with the little ties and the keyhole collar. And actually you can wear this both ways round. It's designed to be worn either way. The sleeve pattern piece is symmetrical, so there's no kind of extra adjustment for the back and forward shoulders. And I made it with elasticated cuffs that come down to my wrists. And then, yeah, I spent a while agonising over what to do there. I wasn't sure whether to leave them loose, but I thought elasticated, I like the look of it, and also I thought it'd be more practical for things like cooking, not having sleeves dangling in pots. And I took ages agonising over the length as well, but I think I'm pretty happy with the length of it too, as you'll be able to see the length in the picture. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I just love this fabric, and I wanted to do it justice, and I think this top does show it off nicely. And I haven't actually worn it yet because it's one of those things that it's a bit silly, but do you have those things that you wear, you make, and then it almost feels too nice to wear? And I feel like I need an occasion to wear this, so there aren't many of at the moment with COVID. But yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I'm just going to sit in my cupboard and I'll admire it for a little bit, and then maybe I'll wear it on the school run and just feel a little bit dressed up one day. So the Sudley pattern has actually been re-released by Megan Nielsen with some more features than this version has. For example, this version just has the sort of 3/4 length and short sleeve versions, but it's been re-released to add a long sleeved elasticated cuff version, which I just made myself for my version. And I think it's also been re-released to include a wider size range, because the size range on this, it only has 5 categories, and the extra small starts with a bust of 34, which seems on the large size really for the smallest version. But I think it is designed to be a little bit, as I said, a little bit oversized, so it is fine. But just worth noting that actually, if you're interested in this pattern, it's worth having a look and making sure you do get the later version, because it does have some more features than this one does. The next make I want to show you is one that was really, I really made with my autumn-winter wardrobe in mind, and I use this pattern here. It's the moss skirt by the Grainline Studio. And it's a lovely skirt pattern with a fly front zipper and button. It's got slash pockets. It's also got, which you can't see on the pattern, it's got a yoke at the back. And then you can add on an extra layer to make it, turn it from a mini skirt to kind of just above the knee skirt. And it's actually one of the earlier patterns I made. It is, as you can see, it's designed as an intermediate pattern. And when I made it the first time round, I was really quite new to sewing. And it was a bit of a baptism of fire. Yeah, it was quite tricky at that point. So it was really nice to revisit it and feel a little bit more on top of all the steps this time. So I'll show you my version. Here it is. I made my moss skirt in this beautiful petrol corduroy from Stoff and Still. And it's really lovely quality. It's kind of, it's not like a baby cord, but it's not a really chunky cord, it's somewhere in between. But it's lovely and thick and a really nice quality. I just really enjoyed this make. I'll put a picture up of me wearing it so you can see the skirt on me. So yeah, I just took my time over this one, and I just made sure that it was finished nicely. I'll show you inside. I used for the pockets some leftover fabric from a dress I made last year, I think. I made the day dress by the Avid Seamstress with this fabric, and I think it's really pretty. Yeah, I just really enjoyed taking my time over it. So you can see there's the yoke at the back. And I opted for adding the panel at the bottom because I quite like the look of it. But I didn't want the skirt to be too long because knee length doesn't really suit me, I find. So what I did is I trimmed off a bit of the top skirt along here. So I have the mini skirt with this added on. So it's kind of sits somewhere between a mini and a knee length skirt, which I'm quite happy with that length. And then I used my prim pliers to attach this button, which I had left over in my stash from another make. I think that might have been, you know, when I made my ginger jeans, I had to buy a pack of several of these, so it's quite nice to use another one because you only really need one per make usually. So that's my moss skirt. What to mention? Well, obviously with corduroy, you have to be quite careful that you cut all the pattern pieces in the same direction because it's got a nap. So if you cut one of the pattern pieces in the other direction, it would end up looking different because the light would fall on it differently, because so the nap goes, I made it so everything went down like this, so you can kind of stroke it this way, and this way it's a bit rough. And then one bit, my machine is a Pfaff Ambition 1.0, and it usually copes with most things pretty well, but it really struggled with this buttonhole, I think because of the bulk of the corduroy fabric. So it has an automatic buttonhole function on my machine, but actually I just couldn't get it to work with this fabric. It just kept getting a bit upset. So what I ended up doing is I made my own buttonhole just using the zigzag stitch, and it's actually come out okay. And I made sure I used the what's it called? I need to think of the name of it. I'll pop the name up there because I can't think of it. I'll remember later, to make sure it didn't fray. Fray check, that's it. Fray check, to make sure it did kind of stay as well as possible. And it did turn out okay. And it's kind of hidden a little bit when you put the button closed anyway, so hopefully that'll hold on well. But other than that, I'm really happy with the finish. And I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. It's really cosy. And I love a bit of corduroy. And what to mention on the sizing, let me just check what pattern piece I used. I usually trace the pattern piece and add my size on there. I made size 2, which is a waist of 26 and a hip of 36 inches. And that's pretty much bang on for me. And it fits really well actually. It sits just, I think it sits probably just below the waist, and it's really comfy there. It's not stretch corduroy or anything, so I wouldn't have wanted it too tight, but that just fits right. But yeah, the pattern is a really great pattern. I think grain line instructions are really good. They're fairly succinct, but the information they do give you is very clear, and it makes it really straightforward to go through, because I think when I made my first version when I was quite new to sewing, I wouldn't have been able to complete the fly front zipper at all if the instructions hadn't been good, because I had no experience of it at that point at all. So I'd really recommend this pattern for a basic skirt. Yeah, it's really nice, and I think I'll get a lot of wear out of this one. My next make was a fairly quick, easy sew, and if you watched my autumn fabric haul and sewing plans video, you'll have seen that fabric from there. And it's this little dress here for my daughter. It's the Pansy Dress by Poppy and Jazz, and I'll just hold it up there so you can see it. And it's in this cool colour changing jersey fabric. So inside it's black and grey, but when my daughter goes outside, then lots of pinks and purples come up in the leopard print, which she thinks is quite nifty. And so I used, as I've mentioned, the Pansy Dress pattern by Poppy and Jazz. It's just quite a basic round-necked gathered skirt jersey dress for little ones, from newborn to 6 years. And I've made my daughter a few of these, and it's a really nice, quick, easy sew. And I'm going to try and get her to pose for a picture in this, but she only started school a couple of weeks ago, and generally when she comes home or in the mornings and even at the weekends, she can be a little bit tired and a bit crotchety, so she might not be willing this time. So I'll just show you the full length here just in case I can't get her to pose for a picture. And I had a bit of fun with this one. I used bright pink thread to stitch around the neckline and also around the hem and the arms, just to add a little pop of colour, and to tie in the colours it changes to when she goes outside. So that was a quick, easy make, and she does like it, even if she isn't very keen on the idea of posing for photos right now. But yeah, I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a pattern for a little girl. It's just really simple, and I think because the pattern's so straightforward, you can have a lot of fun with what colours or patterns you choose for it, because yeah, it's not the pattern's not too fussy, so you can go for a more interesting fabric. So that was that little quick make. Then my next make was back to one for me, and this one is another blouse, but quite a different one to the Sudley blouse. And it's this pattern here. It was a new pattern to me for this month, and it's the Sagebrush top by Friday Pattern Company. And this has been a really popular pattern that I've seen a lot of on Instagram, so you may well have seen it already. And I've seen so many lovely versions, I just really wanted to give it a go myself. And I think it's quite in at the moment with the statement sleeves. So here are the line drawings. It is a blouse with puffy sleeves, a little ruffle at the top and then a tie at the back. And yeah, I'll show you my version. I'll put a picture up of it, and I've got it here. So I made my version in this really lovely double gauze from Minerva in a white colour with little black, well I said they were leaves, but then somebody points out they look a lot like feathers, so they do look a lot like feathers, and I'm not sure which, but either leaves or feathers, that's what it is. It's got the lovely ruffle, it's got the puffy sleeves with elasticated bottoms, and then the tie at the back. And this was a really fun sew. It just came together really, really nicely, and the pattern instructions were really good. So I really enjoyed sewing this one. I made the, which size did I make? I made the smallest size because I know it's designed to be oversized, and I didn't want it to be too oversized and end up wearing me. And I also actually reduced the sleeve pattern piece a little bit, because the double gauze has a bit of body to it. I didn't want it to be too poofy and end up looking like my shoulders were too big. So the way I did that was just take a slice out of the middle of the pattern piece for the sleeves and then round off the shoulder, and it worked just fine. So I've got some poofiness, as you'll see from the photo and from here, but it's not really really oversized sleeves, which I think works well with the double gauze. I love the ruffle. I think it will be really useful. I could wear it, actually I'll put a picture up. I've shown the picture just with it out, but I'll put another picture up showing it tucked into my Brumby skirt. I think it looked really nice tucked out or tucked in. And actually the double gauze is lovely because it's kind of provides a little bit of coziness, so I think it'll work well for autumn as well as when we get round to spring. Yep, so I really recommend the pattern. It is a fairly quick sew for a woven pattern, and I really can't wait to make another one. I'd love to make one in maybe a drapier fabric, so I'll see what I can find to have another go of that one. But yeah, definitely recommend that one. My next make is not a piece of clothing. It is one I talked about in my autumn sewing plans vlog, if you fancy checking that out. and it is quite heavy, so I'm going to try and get it up here so I can show you, but I'll put a picture up too. It is the Poof by Closet Core Patterns. They're a free pattern, and it's designed to be a scrap buster. So basically you can make it you can make it out of fabric scraps because the pieces are quite small, and then you can fill it with fabric scraps too. And I had loads of fabric scraps sitting in a bag upstairs, so I was really keen to make this so I could actually put those scraps to some use. So yeah, as I said, I'll put a picture up of it. There it is in my living room, and there's a picture of it in more detail there. And I'll also see if I can grab it now so I can show you it. Ugh. There it is. So yeah, I feel really small behind this. It's quite big here. This is the front of it with all the different pieces of fabric. And I interfaced all of the individual pieces so that it's fairly sturdy, because these fabrics are kind of mid-weight cottons, and I wanted them to make sure it would hold up nicely. And I used piping around the edge, which I made from this fabric here. And it was my first time making piping, and Closet Core have a little tutorial for how to make it, and it was actually surprisingly straightforward and very satisfying. So I really enjoyed putting the piping on. So I've got the piping on both the top and the bottom. And it's filled with a little cord I had in my stash, a white cord. And then on the bottom, turn it around, there is a invisible zip down the middle. So if you open this up, in here is all my fabric. And it's amazing how much fabric this Poof can take. It used up all my scraps, and now we've been living with it in the living room for a few days, and it's kind of got jumped upon by my children, and it's been used to put feet up on, and actually as the fabric beds down there's even more space for more scraps, so it's really great. And what I did as well, which Closet Core says you can optionally do, is I made a bag, a drawstring bag, which I put inside the Poof to hold all the fabric scraps. So that if I want to, say, wash the actual Poof outer, I can just unzip it and pull that bag out rather than having to collect all the little scraps out from inside, so it works quite well. And I just made that out of some lightweight calico I had, and used a kind of cord for a drawstring, and it was really straightforward, just a square drawstring bag. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It was really fun to make. It was quite time consuming in terms of cutting the pattern pieces out and then interfacing them all individually. But once I'd done that, it all came together quite quickly. It's a lot of sewing straight lines to put all the pattern pieces together, and just a lot of matching up seams to make sure it all looks neat with how it sits when the triangles go down the sides. So yeah, it was a really fun sew, and really practical too. And somebody asked for me to say, somebody asked about whether you needed to cut the fabric scraps up really small inside. I didn't do that, I just shoved them all in as they were, and I can feel there's a few lumps there, but gradually as it beds down I'm noticing less and less those lumps, so I think the fabric's all just squishing down. And actually, so yeah, you might want to spend a bit of time snipping them all up into small pieces, but you don't really need to, I don't think. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them, because it was something new for me, doing some sort of making home decor, making piping. But the Closet Core instructions, as usual, are really good, and it is a free pattern, so it's a great one for using up scraps. Oh yes, and I meant to mention, the fabric I actually used, the Poof outer, that wasn't from my scraps, that was fabric I bought, and it came from Minerva and Itokri, and I'll put their details down below. But that was my slightly different make for September. And I've got one more make I want to share with you. Well, two more, one sewing, one knitting. And this last sewing make is actually not an entirely new garment, but it's a refashion of a dress that's been sitting in my wardrobe for a very long time, that I never worn. So I'll put a picture up of it as I originally made it. And it's this dress here. It's the Honeycomb Dress by Cocowawa Crafts, and I decided to make this. I made it last year, I think, and I made the shirt dress with sleeves, and I made long sleeves with elasticated bottoms, and it looked quite a lot like this, as you can see. And I made it in a viscose twill I got from Satisfaction at the time. And yeah, I love the fabric, and I just haven't ever worn it, I think. I wasn't really sure why, and I kind of put off doing anything with it. And then I thought, this month I've got a bit more time on my hands to think about it a bit more in the daytime, and I tried it on, and I decided it just feels like it's wearing me. It's too much of the fabric, and it's quite a bold fabric, obviously, and so I decided to make a few adjustments to see if I could make it suit me better. So I did that over the last couple of days actually, so it's just recently refashioned. And what I'll do is I'll put a picture up of how it looks now. So as you can see, I've chopped the sleeves off and made them into short sleeves, which was fairly straightforward. And I also just chopped the skirt off a little bit because it was just sitting around my knee, and I've now just taken it up. I think I cut it off 3 inches, so just above my knee. And I just feel like it's made a world of difference. It feels a lot more me now. It feels a bit less like the fabric's dominating, and I really love it. I'm so glad that I'm hopefully going to get a lot of wear out of it now. So I just thought I'd share with you that one because I was really pleased to be able to turn something I'm not wearing into something I'm going to make a lot more use of. And here's the dress itself in the flesh, so you can see it. It is a lovely, it's a really, really lovely soft viscose twill, and I think it's a really lovely rich green colour. And I quite like green on me, so I'm really looking forward to getting more use out of it. And I think now it's short sleeved, it'll be easier to pop a cardigan on with it. And so I'm hoping I'll get some use out of it in winter, with a nice thick cardigan top and some tights, and then maybe in spring too. Yeah. So that's that one. I do like a refashion. Well, actually, I sometimes put off refashions, but when I've done them, they're really satisfying because it's so nice to be able to make something useful out of something that wasn't giving much use. So that's that one. And now I usually try and end the vlogs, my makes vlogs, with a little knitting project. So I thought I'd show you my latest cats. So this year we went on holiday to the Isle of Wight for a week, and I wanted to take a small discreet knitting project with me. And as you will know if you've watched my previous makes vlogs, I've been working my way through this book here, Knitted Cats and Kittens by Sue Stratford. And so I thought I'd take some cats away to knit. And I decided to make these 2 cats here. Doorstop cats. One for my son and one for my daughter, and they are weighted down. Each of them has a sock inside filled with rice, and so they're designed to keep their doors open. And they were so much fun to make. These possibly are my favourite cats I've knitted so far. I knitted them. The pattern calls for double knit, and so I used double knit for them. But what I chose is, instead of an acrylic double knit, I chose an acrylic cotton mix because I thought that might be a little less fluffy and stand the test of time a little bit more when they're being used for doorstops and being picked up and put down quite a lot. So I used this cotton acrylic blend, which was really nice to knit with, and I got that from Love Crafts. And then they've got a little curly tail, some stripes, a cute little face and some eyes, and that's the blue one with 2 shades of blue, and there's a pink one with 2 shades of pink. And they're a lot of fun to knit. As I said, they might be my favourite cats I've knitted so far. And I also learnt a new technique when I was knitting these, which is the intarsia technique. And it's basically a way of binding together different coloured threads so that you don't end up with any holes around where you're changing from one colour to another. And it works so well, and I really enjoyed using that technique. I used a tutorial on YouTube. I can put a link to it below for the technique, and I found that really handy for explaining it. But yeah, they're a lot of fun to make. I didn't quite complete them when I was on holiday. I did all the knitting on holiday and then I sewed them up when I got home. But my son and daughter like them, and they do look quite cute holding their doors open. So there we are, 2 doorstop cats. So those kittens were the last make I've got to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed hearing a bit about my September makes. I've really enjoyed sharing them with you. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you click the subscribe button and also the bell icon so that you can hear about my future vlogs. And if you've enjoyed this video also, please could you give it a thumbs up? So that's all of me to say today, other than I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye bye!